It's October, late October. Starting to get cold out there. It's about 6 to 10 degrees. Sweater, light hat day. So what are we going to talk about today in this vlog style presentation is the state of software development. This is a JetBrains report. If you don't know JetBrains, they create some of the most popular integrated development environments out there in the web. So what's happening is PHP is stabilized, TypeScript is rising, yada, yada, yada. But before I get into that, I'm going to give you a little bit of a vlog presentation here. So here's the view of the city at 7 in the morning. Yeah, I get up early. I'm old. One of the things I like to do in the morning is some micro exercises. Just the act of sitting down like this or squatting like this is actually good for your physiology. I'm just triggering the body. I call it a micro exercise because I'm not doing a full-blown workout. I'm just doing a quick little exercise. Again, this is just a micro exercise. It's more or less designed to stimulate the body, to activate the nervous system in the morning. All right. Let's head out. We're going to go to my favorite place. It's a bagel shop in, it's about 15 minutes away, not even 10 minutes away. Only me and the other geezers are up this time of the morning. Sunday. The GV70. Too many things in my pockets. So what the JetBrains report was showing is that, again, as I've been saying for years, the web is still very dominant. Now there's this move to TypeScript, apparently. TypeScript is improving in popularity. I can see that. TypeScript, to me, is pretty cool because it's kind of you get the good stuff from JavaScript and you get the good stuff from Java. I have a love-hate relationship with Java personally because, well, it's Java. So if you don't know JetBrains, by the way, they are very important IDE manufacturers. They created IntelliJ, Python, PHP Storm. They invented, if I recall, the Kotlin programming language, which is basically a light, nimble scripting language that sits on top of the JVM. JVM is Java Virtual Machine. So Google adopted Kotlin as the official language for Android development several years ago. Partly because of Java, and partly because of legal disputes that Google was having with Oracle. I don't know if they're still having it or not. Anyway, so yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with Java in that I like that it's strongly typed. It's type safe. It's an explicit language. So it's very obvious when you look at Java code, because it's strongly typed. It's very easy to see what's going on, and it has certain advantages at runtime and so on. But yeah, it's got big positives. Now it's got some huge negatives. So the huge negatives is extremely verbose, and worse than the verbosity of the language itself is, of course, the infrastructure around Java. Java is a very bureaucratic, red-taped, derived, and styled environment or stack. It takes just so long to get things done in Java. That's why I dropped it years ago. I did a lot of Java development. I built my dating app in Java. I would never build anything new in Java today because of the overhead, the verbosity. Again, the language has a certain elegance in of itself, but its verbosity and the infrastructure around the language is so verbose and heavy. It's just not good. So I would not start anything new in Java. That said, TypeScript. Now that is something interesting. TypeScript is strongly typed. but it's light and nimble, kind of like a JavaScript. So it's kind of got the best of both worlds. So I can see why, if I recall from the JetBrains report, TypeScript is getting more popular. Always construction in Montreal. Always construction. The last political party is a disaster. My advice to you when you're voting for your mayors, try to vote for somebody. Try to vote for somebody who's got actual real-world managerial experience, because it's just a disaster. This is where I'm going. Yo, bagel, stop. All right, so we'll get into it. I'll put the link below. This is the JetBrains report, the State of Developer Ecosystem 2025. Shows how developers use AI, switch to TypeScript, and redefine productivity. So I'm going to just go over some of the headline news points here, and then you can go read the whole article if you want. So the new edition of the JetBrains Developer Ecosystem Survey shows how strongly artificial intelligence AI has established itself in developers' lives. The results are based on 24,534 responses from developers in 194 countries, collected between April and June. So, with regards to AI, it's not what you think. I'll just get into it. 85% of respondents regularly use AI tools, and 62% rely on it at least. They rely on at least one AI assistant or AI-powered code tool in their daily work. Only 15% have worked completely without AI so far. So the vast majority of people are using AI, at least to some extent. And they do so often due to data protection or quality concerns. Of those who use AI, here's the big bullet point here. Almost 90% report clear time savings. A fifth even save a whole workday per week by using assistants. 68% expect employers to soon specifically demand AI competencies. Nevertheless, skepticism remains. Many criticize the fluctuating quality of generated code, lack of contextual knowledge, and fear that their skills might atrophy. So the last one will not happen. I've seen this before. Your skills will not atrophy by doing AI or anything else. If you forget stuff, which you will inevitably when you move into different types of development, I currently forget so much of the Java I did back in the day, but I'm not concerned. If I ever needed to learn Java, to get back into Java, I would literally get back into it within a day or so. I've seen it. I've done this before, where I've forgotten a particular language or tech because of just disuse. Come back later and it works fine. So 20% of developers say that they're saving a whole workday per week using assistants. So of all the people who are using AI, it's the vast majority. It's 85% of developers out there in the survey of 24,000 and change. 85% are using AI, but only 20% of them say that they're saving a day. So basically, AI is making them 20% more effective, right? 1 in 5. So they're saving a day. So that's a 20% boost in productivity using AI. So it's not removing developers. It's just making you 20% more efficient. Something I've been talking about for ages about the AI, well, the last couple of years, about the AI is that it's not going to replace developers. It's just a new tool. It's a new abstraction. Learn it. So we're 3 years into it now. AI is boost productivity by 20%. That's one of the reasons why we're not seeing the hiring of new developers, because the AI is okay for boilerplate code, that kind of low-level stuff that you would typically hire juniors to do. So juniors, if you're a junior, you want to get into it, you got to just up your game a little, and you can watch my other videos about that. I won't get into it here. But I think that this is going to level out, because what happens, you got this new technology, AI, you're going to get this 20% to 30% productivity gain. I'm sure other people will cite different numbers. But in general, of 24,000 plus people, they're saying about 20% percent gain in productivity. Once that productivity gain levels off, then companies are going to start rehiring to continue to increase productivity. So to me, I've seen this type of stuff before. I've seen new technologies come out that made you significantly more productive. 20% is significant. Same thing with the low code and the no code tool sets. Same thing when we went from writing raw SQL constantly to using ORM tools that had a big productivity gain. When we went from hacked out HTML and hacked out CSS to well-formed DOMs in the browsers, that had a huge productivity gain. So I've seen this before. AI is just more in the news because it's not just in coding now. It's all over the place where you can see these gains. But it's far from perfect. It makes mistakes. It hallucinates. It makes assumptions. So you need to put tight guardrails on the AI, as I said. And you've seen a bunch of articles where they've leaned too heavily on the AI. You know, it could make you 25%, 20% more productive, but they assume it could do the whole job and the whole thing falls apart. A little while back, 4 or 5 months ago, I started training a GPT for my fitness program. I call it Brad Fit, the world's greatest living AI trainer. And it's very powerful, but it does a very particular thing. It takes care of a very particular tranche of the fitness program, highly effective. But it took me 4 months, to train it, 3.5, 4 months. And it's still not perfect, but it does very, very well. And it does things that I could not do otherwise. But it's hardly replacing everything. It's just adding. It's like a power tool for a carpenter. Instead of sawing by hand, or instead of writing your raw SQL, you just use the ORM. So anyway, I have some experience with the GPT, and I've also spoke to a lot of friends few friends who have been working with AIs for years now, full time, and they say the same thing. So if you're worried about AI, it's not replacing developers. One of the reasons they're not hiring new people is also close to the market. They overhired during COVID, and the economy's slowing down a little bit. So these three things, I think the overhiring and the market slowing down have a far greater impact of why they're not hiring junior devs now than the AI. The AI is having an impact, but it's not as nearly as important as the previous two. According to the JetBrains Language Promise Index, which evaluates the growth, stability, and future attractiveness of languages, TypeScript, Rust, and Go are considered the most promising technologies in 2025. JavaScript, PHP, and SQL, on the other hand, have reached a mature phase where little significant growth is expected. Most frequently desired languages for developers to learn or use are Go, 11%, Rust, 10%, Python, 7%, Kotlin, 6%, TypeScript, 6%, as the following graphic shows. Again, I'll link to the article so you can take a look. I don't know if you can see it here. There you go. It's not significant, guys, right? It's 10%, 11%. Productivity redefined. Instead of purely technical metrics like build times and deployment speeds, the understanding of productivity itself is coming into focus in 2025. More than half of respondents cite interpersonal factors such as communication and clarity of goals as crucial. What did I'm Uncle Steph. What did Uncle Steph tell you for years now? Communication skills are huge if you want to become a successful developer. 66% do not see existing metrics as a realistic representation of their actual performance. JetBrains concludes from this that productive teams today need not only better tools, but also better collaboration. I can see collaboration tools. The sentiment in the developer job market varies greatly by region. I've always talked about regional influences on the jobs. While 57% in Japan view the situation positively, 2/3 find it difficult in Canada. Well, Canada is it's just a general Canadian thing. Challenges also change with experience. Juniors struggle with entry barriers. We talked about this before. Senior developers with coordination and context switching. Despite all this, the passion for the profession remains unbroken. More than half continue to write code even after work, apparently for relaxation. You know what? I used to do that I admit it. Back in the 90s when I was like really big into Java was a hot new language. It'd be like, I remember that's when I was building my dating app. I remember I built the dating app in Java Web, Java JSP, and servlets, MVC, Model 2. And I didn't use ORM. I had my own framework I rolled out. Actually, I developed and refined my framework partly based on the dating app. Anyway, I remember it'd be like Friday nights and people were, let's go party! And I'd be, well, come, I'll be there at midnight, because I'd be like writing code, building my dating app. It became super fun dating app when you start getting actual users and you start getting paid users. I'm telling you, when you take products to market and people start using your product and start paying you to use your product, it makes it 100 times more fun. PHP in 2025, stable, modern, AI-driven. The supplementary report, State of PHP 2025, highlights how the PHP ecosystem continues to evolve 30 years after its inception. Of the 1,720 developers from 194 countries participated in this part of the survey, 89% are already working with PHP 8x, with older versions gradually disappearing. As I've been saying for years, Laravel dominates with 64%, followed by WordPress and Symfony. Around 58% do not plan to switch to other languages, so PHP remains a constant on the web. It will remain a constant. 95% of PHP developers have already tried AI tools, and 80% use them regularly. While ChatGPT is losing market share, specialized solutions like GitHub Copilot and JetBrains AI Assistant are gaining traction. In 2025, JetBrains also introduced Junie, its AI coding agent, which is integrated directly into IDEs and works contextually. Technical tools like PHP Stan and modern testing frameworks are also being used more frequently. There's actually a brand new version of PHP that just came out. It just provides basically, I won't get into it, you can go look it up. It basically just provides more concise ways of doing certain things in code. It's, I call it code shortcuts, if you will. So there you go. You know what? You can go watch my videos. I got over 2,600 videos or something like that that are public now. And I can say that you'll see my predictions. They've all come to pass. I've been doing this for 30 years. You do anything for 30 years, you get to know it, right? If you are an experienced developer, there's, according to the survey, there's an 85% chance that you're actually using AI. You have to understand the AI stuff is it's there. Now there's a bit of a over implementation, if you will, of AI. Basically, people have gotten a little bit too confident in AI's capability. Not just in coding, by the way. It's run into some problems. It's not a panacea, a SIA. Like, you got to understand, whenever a new technology comes out, the people who are selling the technology, they're going to give you the story. They're going to say, oh, yeah, it's really, it's super, it's going to do this, it's going to cook your bread, and it's going to replace everybody, and humanity will be amazing, or it's going to kill everybody. This is normal in anything. People who have an interest in a particular technology or narrative or story, they will exaggerate what it is they're trying to push. So the AI people are going, yeah, it's unbelievable. It's great. Use it. But it's not like again, according to this 25,000 people survey, we're looking at a 20% productivity gain, which is huge, but it's not like you're not doing any more coding. Makes mistakes. When you're implementing AI, whether it be in code or otherwise, my recommendation, based on my deep conversation with several AI experts I know, people have been using it for years full time, developing models and leveraging models, creating agents. And my own experience with a lot, creating my Brad Fit AI over, for 3.5, 4 months. What I found, AI is very good for very controlled, very fine-grained implementations. The old rule in software development, separation of concerns. If you don't know that principle, then you haven't been trained properly. Maybe you have been trained. It's a good principle to know. It's one of the fundamental principles of software development, separation of concerns. In a nutshell, it says, keep your code siloed and fine-grained, is separated from each other. So you have an authentication logic, have the authentication libraries separate from, your validation libraries. I guess that's kind of the same thing. Well, not necessarily. Or from your view widget generating libraries, for example. You got to keep things a little separate. You got to keep them fine-grained, because when you have monolithic pieces of code, now we have to go through this maze of traffic of construction here in Montreal. When you have code bases that are too large and they try to do too many things, it's very difficult to manage. Same thing with the AI. When you have a large language models are useful baseline tools, but they have to be refined quite a bit. They're too big. They need to be big so that they can do what they're going to do, but they need to be refined. Like if you go to, for example, my fitness AI is based on GPT. But if you just go to GPT and use it raw without all the training I gave it, it's going to give you 50% of the functionality, maybe 60. But it's going to start doing that stupid stuff that AIs do, going off on tangents and hallucinating and making assumptions, and it's not nearly as useful as my prompted fitness AI. And what the prompting does, it gives it guardrails, it gives it constraints, it controls it, it tells it where to go, what tangent to go in. So, for example, with these principles, I'm illustrating this to give you an idea of principles. So it's trained on this fitness AI, this GPT, is trained on the principles of my program. And the principles of my program are psychology first based fitness, keto adjacent, micro cuts, micro exercises, pulse technique, yada, 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 yada. So it's trained on this, and then I deal with all these edge cases. So I give it a very tight framework, and then I start dealing with all these edge cases which would inevitably pop up. And otherwise, it's like a GPS that just goes wild and goes off on. So imagine that's what the AI is like. Imagine a GPS that takes you like 3/4 of the way there, and then it starts taking you all over the place. You don't know what the hell you're going to go. You never get where you want to go. That's what AI does. So you have to really constrain it. So when you're working with AI, you have to understand that. So if you're using AI to develop code, have it do very specific things. Some people have vibed code their way through certain implementations, and that can work. No question about it. I was talking to a woman I know who basically used a ChatGPT to build a pretty interesting little app based on Google Sheets, and so she did it. She's not a coder, but she's quite smart, and it took her like a day or two to do it. And she was telling me GPT-5 is far more capable than GPT-4 in this regard, but it took her a day or two. So as opposed to needing a developer. Because what the AI does slowly, it's turning all programming languages almost into 4GL languages, 4th generation languages, where you would instruct a computer via more human-like structures. SQL, structured query language, is basically designed, it's a 4GL. So you go select star, or select name and name first, name last from this table, where the user's last name, blah, blah. So it was SQL itself is a fourth generation language. It's designed to be more like English, right? Just talking to it as opposed to writing code with brackets and semicolons. And anybody who uses SQL knows that it's not the easiest to use, especially when you start getting into some of the more advanced queries. So you can think of AI as a facade. I'm making reference to the facade design pattern as a facade over all programming languages. Yeah, it's a facade over all programming languages to make them 4GL. The complexity of development is still there. Remember what I said before, a big part of development is collaboration and communication. That's why I've always talked about, excuse the lighting, I always talked about how important, communication is if you want to get a software development job, right? It's hugely important, So anyway, there you go. That's it with the AI. So with the PHP, if you ever thought it was dead, it's not dead. It's not Ruby, it's PHP. PHP's king. Now here's a little business rule and life lesson. When a particular technology gets to a point of particular technologies will get to a point where they're so widely used that they'll never be displaced, or it will take an act of God to replace them. So yeah, PHP isn't going anywhere, nor is SQL, but people will be using AI to use them. Anyway, I hope you found this vlog useful. Let me know what you think about this vlog style of video. If you want more, let me know. I'm actually thinking of moving down to southern US. Better for business. If you want to do business, I don't know about Asia. Asia is great, I think, but in terms of business, like I'm in Canada, US is far better than Canada when it comes to business. If you're a business person, US place to be. So I'm thinking of moving down to the southern US because I hate the cold. And it's good for business, and I got family in the U.S., so I'm thinking of moving there. If you saw me last year, I did a bunch of. I was in a beach town for about 6 months. I might get someplace down there. Anyway, let me know if you like the style of video as opposed to sitting on my desk. If this is interesting conversations. If you want to learn how to code, I have an interactive developer. Training platform I developed called Studio Web. I developed it from scratch. I worked hand in hand with many school districts, so it's quite refined. So if you've had a trouble learning how to code, no, you'll be fine. This is the program for you. If also you want to get in shape, I have a fitness over 50 program for any age really. It's a AI supported. There's lots of videos that I put out, and it's a keto adjacent diet. It's a keto adjacent psychology first program, and it works fantastically well if you want to get in shape, that is. What else is there to say? That's it. Links below. All right, let me know what you think about this style of video if you're still watching. Thank you. Namaste.